I'm going to show you a game of Bill Hartston's, which he played nearly 50 years ago in a tournament in Spain. This is one of his greatest games, and it was called by Ray Keane, the English Immortal.
What year was it?
It's played in Alicante, 1973.
Yeah.
Bill Hartston won the British Championships twice. In 1973, after he beat Mike Basman, they tied and then they played a match. And Hartston won quite convincingly. I think Basman only won one game. And then he won in 1975 at Morecambe. And since that time, he wasn't players like Short and obviously Tony Miles and John Nunn coming along. Hartston slipped down the batting order.
Did Mike Basman play his unusual openings in those days, or did he take those up only later in his career?
Well, it's funny because if you were to ask him that, he did play some offbeat systems, but in a way he made them his own, like the Birds or the Bishop C5, Paulson Sicilian. Do you know what I mean? After D4, C takes D4, Knight takes D4, Bishop C5. He also used to play, as did Spielman and Tony Miles, B6. He was rather addicted to this. I can't really think that he did his scores any good, but he did enjoy himself, and we enjoyed him, didn't we? Michael always, and this remains the case, is very colourful. Bill Hartston, international master, on the same day as he became a BA, as he told me. And of course, he claims this as a record. He was always a strong junior player, and with players like Penrose giving less time to the game, and players like Alexander and Golombek, you know, no longer young men, Hartston and Keane, like Morecambe Wise, became a double act and more or less monopolized the British Championships, and also wrote books. And but the sadness was perhaps that they weren't as strong, they didn't fulfill their potential because they concentrated too much on openings. Anyway, this is the famous game against the Finnish Grandmaster, Alekhine Westerinen. Westerinen became a Grandmaster by courtesy of Irva, who was the FIDE president, the World Federation president. Irva gave him the title, even though he only had 2 of the 3 norms he needed, because they were desperate, obviously, to give Grandmaster titles to players from unusual countries. But nevertheless, Alekhine Westerinen was, for a very short time, a very strong player indeed. But in this game, Bill Hartston somewhat trumps his ace. Let's see if I can get this to work. Now here we have the Bishop's opening. This is significant. Hartston said that he only understood the Lopez after he gave up the Lopez, that's typical of Bill's humour, and started playing the Bishop's opening. And you will see why, because although it's transpositional and a relic from the 19th century, it does have a certain amount of poke. So let's have a look. Westerinen played this. You can play knight f3 here and allow black to take the e-pawn, and then play knight c3, which is the Boden-Kaiseritsky. So if knight f3, knight takes e4, knight c3, knight takes knight, d takes c3, white has compromised his pawn structure and sacrificed a pawn, but he does have lines of attack for his pieces. And if black doesn't know what he's doing, and he may not, then he might find himself in any amount of shtuck. But in this position, Bill plays d3. Now, one of the things about this position is that if white plays the natural rejoinder, which is knight c3 as opposed to d3, then knight takes e4 is still possible because of knight takes knight and then d5 forking the bishop and the knight. So in the position after knight takes pawn, queen h5 is a move threatening mate on f7. And this follows a long theoretical line, but this goes out at the side of the scope of the bishop's opening. Anyway. So having finessed the move order, white is in no danger of... Now, Bill has often liked King's Gambits. He played a King's Gambit at the suggestion of Leonard Barton against Spassky at Hastings, 1965-6, something like that. And the game is still quoted, although Bill lost. He certainly put up a good fight against Spassky, one of the strongest players in the world at that moment, of course, an heir apparent to the world title of Petrosian. He's also won some good games with the King's Gambit. There's a game against J.R. Richardson from the Arc Masters, which I'm not going to show you, but you might like to look up at some point. Anyway. So here we are in the realms of a sort of the King's Gambit. Now, where are you going to put the knight? Come on, where are you going to put the knight? No, it's offering a line. You can play d5, it says. Look at that. Counterplay. Counterplay. Whoa. So he doesn't recapture. He plays bishop b4, threatening d4, pinning the knight on c3. But young William is the equal of this. He goes back. Renewing the threat. These notes I've got in brackets are by Bill Hartston. Now look at this, a pass pawn on the 7th rank. Whoa, look at this. Don't try this at home, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. This is going to get exciting. Tucks his king in the corner. He doesn't take the rook. He plays rook e8. Now look at that. Even John Upham would have spotted this. Now the various possibilities, knight g3, knight d4, with the pawn promoting. But here we have a discovered attack on the king, and the queen hangs on b6. And Westerinen scuttles away. And look at this. He doesn't recapture. We're holding our breath. And he doesn't stop the promotion. And there it is. At long last, the queen steps out. So what are we going to do as white? Can we have some suggestions, please? If anybody can hear.
Queen b3 check.
Yes, I like that. Queen b3 check. Tim, what do you think? Queen b3, you're going to vote for that?
Well, this isn't really my kind of position.
What do you seriously think when the two guys sat down, they thought it was theirs? All right. Well, I think Philip might be right, but he frequently is. These Basingstoke players, you know. Oh, no, he doesn't play it. He took the rook. Well, he played queen takes queen. Now, what do you think is going to happen? White has got a queen, a bishop and a rook. And black's got loads of stuff, but problems galore. Queen b2.
Quite a little move, isn't it?
Hitting the bishop on b4, hitting the bishop on e2, and threatening queen b3.
Okay, yeah, so why is that a massive threat?
He's just lost another bloody rook. Easy come, easy go. Now, Hartston would have had to work this out. This is where you can't ad lib. Now, this is the moment when he's not checking black. What would be a good black move here? We need a good answer.
Queen, rook e1?
Yeah, why not? Point is, have you parried all the threats?
You could still take on b7, I think, because bishop g1 is a defense to the back rank mate.
Oh yeah, yes.
So maybe that's why.
But it's black's move. So Colin, what's your recommendation for black?
Oh, I wasn't making a recommendation. I don't know. I think queen takes b7 is a massive threat. I don't see anything especially wrong with knight d7, but I don't know.
Well, there's no point sitting there and saying I don't know.
Well,
Knight d7, can't black play white play queen d6 check?
Indeed, he can.
Oh, he can't play knight f6, can he? Good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, white has massive mobility, I think you would have to say.
Yeah, the king, black's king is exploding.
Westerinen is no one's fool. He actually holds the record. If you look on ChessBase of professional players, I think probably Westerinen has played more games than anyone that walks the earth. For a grandmaster, he's a very heavy drinker, and he became a bit of a joke because they wasn't used to inviting because he was such a weak grandmaster. But it wasn't as a result of this game, I do assure you. So let's see. Oh, well, that's a bit lackluster. Neither of us thought of that. But he can't go to d6 with check. He just takes it.
And he deflects away from b7, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, subtle.
And at last, black does some old-fashioned development. And here's our old friend queen d6 check. I'm afraid black is going to have to head for the hills. Right, you're a last cigarette, a last word with the firing squad. What is young William going to do? So bishop g7. Offers a couple of lines, retracts the bishop, hoping for rook e1 mate. I don't think Hartston, at the height of his powers,
h3 threatens queen h6 mate, and gives the escape square on the black.
Yes, it does. Yes, it's a nice, sensible move. But on the other hand, h3 it is.
Hey.
You should have been playing the game yourself. Blocking Bill's assault on h6. But here comes the chopper to chop off your head. Queen g4.
What happened to the firing squad?
Well, it became medieval.
Okay.
Rook e4 now.
What's that, Philip?
Rook e4.
You've still got queen h6.
Queen
Queen
h6.
h6 mate.
Yeah, you've got two mates to stop, and I don't know if that's possible.
It's not.
No.
In this position, Ike Westerinen resigned.
All right.
Yeah, what a tremendous game.
So there you are. Bill had played the bishop's opening, which was recommended. Tim Harding wrote a book published by the Chess Player on the bishop's opening. And Hartston wrote in his usual patronizing way, no one has thought to give me a copy of it yet. Well, I ought to go out and buy a copy. And of course, the bishop's opening goes back to the time of Staunton, really. But I found a game just about an hour ago in which Bill lost with the bishop's opening against Alan Phillips. a player who tied with Leonard Barden in 1953 for the British Championships. And top board Cambridge versus Kent, and Alan Phillips beat the precocious Hartston, the black side of the Bishop's Opening. So there you are.
Not bad opening, is it?
No, it's just quieter. I find at my level that people just want always to transpose. They just play knight c6 and 1 to 2 knights or something like that. So you shouldn't play it if you're worried that, you know, think it's going to be unique. It's not. But it has its points, and it's just simply less well known. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Tremendous game. It wasn't that obvious that the Queen and Bishop would prevail.
No, it certainly wasn't. He said during the game that he had to calculate very deeply, and I think it wore him out for the rest of the tournament. Though he did actually win. It was actually an all-play-all, not that strong, which Hartston won. That I don't think Westerinen was the same again. Anyway, thank you.
This is a game between Claude Bloodgood versus B. Evans, Norfolk 1961. And it's a grob. The first move's obviously G. Bloodgood's white, Evans is black. 1 G4, D5 in response. Second move, BG2, C6. And he played G5.
Is that a normal grob move?
I don't know. Yeah.
I think it is actually.
Oh, I mean, you can play that. I mean, the hope is that you can play C4 and offer a gambit. If he takes the G pawn, which is a bit hot, you can take on D4, D5.
Yeah.
But I would think that G5 could be considered experimental, but not a mistake.
So what black plays E5 then, they'll presumably build up a centre.
Yes.
And he's obviously threatening Queen takes pawn now, so he played H4. I think you could have played D3.
D4.
Well, yeah.
I think
I
that would have,
D3.
it would have stretched the pawns as far as they'd go.
And then Bishop D6. D3. Bishop E6. E4.
Oh, Lord.
See, black seems just to be developing his pieces, doesn't he? Knight E7.
Yeah, I think White's trying to get away with as much as he can.
Knight D2. Castles. I'm not sure. Would you castle in that position?
Yeah, you're kind of castling into it, aren't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't castle if I was black.
Yeah,
For lots of reasons. One reason being I can always castle another move later, and therefore I wouldn't castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the black player is that well schooled. I mean, it's an okay position, isn't it? Really, I mean, those pawns are, you know, he's got a full pieces off back rank.
So what do you reckon Bloodgood played now then?
Oof.
I dread to think H5.
No.
All right then, Knight F3.
Close, but
Knight GF3.
But B3?
he actually played Bishop H3.
What?
It's changing the bishops off. Bishop H3.
Strange.
I think he's pushing his luck here. He's deliberately playing a load of pants. Queen D7.
No, he exchanged the bishops off.
Right. That just weakens the flank, doesn't it? Really?
How did he retake?
He
I hope he
would-
took with the rook.
no, took the knight.
Oh, shame. Well, it spoils it.
And then Black played F5. I'm not sure about that.
Well, that took a bit of thinking about, but it does look just about right.
F5? And he took en passant with the G pawn. G takes F6. Rook takes F6.
Okay. I mean, White's position does look ropey, but on the other hand, Black has weakened his king's side.
E takes D5. Then he said this is a positional blunder, the next move.
You take with a knight.
He took with a knight, which is a blunder, apparently.
Well, yeah.
You
Having
don't want
been,
to give Black. Yeah, sorry, you don't want to give White this E4 square.
being coached by Ken Harmon, he wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah, get the centre. I mean, the pawn.
Exactly.
So I don't know how strong this other player was. I mean,
Well, it was
Right.
probably, I think it was his mates, you know, if he was banged up. I don't know if he was banged up in 1961, though.
I suppose
No.
White's still got C4 here after C takes D5.
He hasn't even got his fianchettoed bishop. If he did,
Yeah.
you know, I think. I know Basman said an interesting thing to me. He said, do you think the Grob would be any stronger if castling wasn't allowed? I didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer for him, but he just, being him, he just walked away. So I never knew what he thought. But well, maybe it's just a personal thing. But it is an interesting comment, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
anyway, he took with a knight rather than a pawn. So
Right. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, if there's a tactical reason or something working for Black, who after all is much better developed.
and then he played knight E4 now.
Well, as you would. All White's problems are solved almost.
Are they?
Well, perhaps that's a slight exaggeration, but
Well, I don't know. I mean,
his pieces are coming out very
Bishop's
easily.
coming to G5, isn't it?
Yeah,
oh yes.
yeah, and this knight is splendid.
Rook F7,
Bishop G5 anyway.
Bishop G5,
Anyway,
Bishop E7,
Queen G4.
yeah, Queen G4,
Yeah, good move.
Spot the cheapo.
Queen A5 check.
Oh,
Oh,
last.
I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
Sorry, it's touch move, Colin. That's it.
Well, that's it. You've got to move.
Well, it was an auto move. I didn't actually touch it.
C3,
C3, sorry. Yeah.
Bishop takes G5.
Ugh. So he's moved his queen away from the defence.
And now he's inviting the White Army to come surging in.
Yeah.
Take the pawn.
Knight H takes G5.
Oh, okay.
Rook F8.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, Queen
Maybe a
E
problem.
to E6.
Queen
Maybe a
E6
problem,
check.
yeah.
That's trouble now.
well, you didn't have a lot of choice, really. Because if you move somewhere else, say there,
Oh, we got Queen C8 as well.
it's
True.
checkmate. Well, the
Oh,
queen and
true.
the rook going the way, but it's pretty
Yeah.
well made.
Oh, yeah.
So
Mm.
even if you'd gone, could you have gone? Well, even if you'd gone there, you've got Queen E6 check. So I think he's already in deep stum. Sorry, Rook F8.
so we've got Philidor's Legacy.
Yeah.
Queen E6 check. King's only got, well, he only one move.
Now you got knight F7 check, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's a force mate.
The Queen
Oh, yeah,
A5 is a wally, isn't it? I'm not. If he didn't play Queen A5, was he lost?
Well, he was better than he would be in the game.
Yeah, he was struggling, but I mean,
Yeah,
White has had some, in a way, some free moves.
totally.
Why
Yeah.
didn't Black just develop his B knight?
Yeah, I agree. I just wondered at what point you thought he'd really messed it up.
Well, it's smothered mate now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, you can play rook takes. Oh, yeah. No good.
No, it's mate either way, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
So King G8, Knight H6 check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We know this one.
King H8, Queen G8 check. Rook, Knight F7.
Ouch. Very nice, but dear, that's
Going for the grob.
game. I'm converted to the grob.
So this is the game. Alexander Alekhine. Well, it says versus Rowena Bruce. Plymouth
Well, it's
Knight-
not. It's not. Sorry to be so clever, but it's not Rowena Bruce. It's Ron Bruce. Anyway.
So it's a Caracan.
Yeah, it is indeed.
So E4, C6,
Yes.
Knight C3,
Yep.
D5,
Yep.
Knight F3, D takes E4, Knight takes E4,
Yeah.
Bishop F5, Knight G3. This is known to be inferior for black, it says, and apply Bishop G6.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's a little bit out of step because the bishop can be hit at before we've played D4.
Yeah, suggest Bishop G4 should be tried.
Yes.
Rather.
Yeah. Poor old Bruce. He never lived this one down.
Instead, he played Bishop G6, and then White plays H4. And he's forced to play H6, isn't he?
There's the little Bronstein story that the bishop gets walled up on G8 and then emerges.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
that's a tremendous position.
Knight E5, Bishop H7.
Yeah, and good night, sweetheart.
Suggest Queen D6 should have been tried, but
That's interesting.
Well, I suppose because what's about to follow is
Yeah.
anything has to be better than the text.
Yeah, the game continues, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's still deep.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would take the bishop and
Yeah,
just
why not
the
almost?
queen. At least it's a novel position, even if black is worse, which he is. So.
I guess White could think about playing D4 and Bishop F4, but I tend to agree, just take the bishop. And
Well,
it
I mean,
might
if
be
the
better.
bishop, in many variations of the Caracan, the bishop goes, I know you know this, but goes back to H7, only to re-emerge when it's exchanged.
Yeah.
But Alekhine actually manages to make Bruce wall the bishop up.
Oh,
It's
that
nice.
was-
and now Queen H5. Right,
Ouch.
mate. It's forced to
And now the move of the century.
G6.
Oh,
Oh,
just, yeah, that's excellent.
Bit like my game was.
Preserving the bishop.
Yeah, that bishop is wonderful, pickled in aspic.
It says the bishop's entombed on H7,
Yeah.
and he just plays Bishop C4.
Oh yes, I'd forgot. Yeah, I wouldn't have remembered that. bit.
You can't even take the queen because it's mate, isn't it?
Hmm.
He's forced to play E6 now.
Yeah,
And it's good night, sweetheart.
Pawn takes queen is a threat.
Queen E2.
Yeah, I would have hoped in that position there was something else other than that, but I'm sure that's more than adequate.
Knight
Yeah.
takes pawn is a threat.
It is now. I was just hoping for something a bit more photogenic.
Yeah, yeah.
Played blundered by playing knight F6.
Oh,
I think we've seen what's coming there.
and that's still a threat, right?
Yeah, knight takes F7, king takes F7.
But what should he have played there? Queen E7 or something?
Yeah, I think so. That's the
Well,
only-
I don't know. It
Like
might
that.
be stronger to resign.
Well, Queen
It's deeply
E7.
unpleasant. Queen E7 looks sensible.
Queen E7's the only move, isn't it?
I can't see a better one.
Mm.
Black's game was horrid, but this loses on the spot.
I think the thing is probably playing Alekhine. Bruce was a player of master strength.
Wow.
He got move order, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think it's just that playing Alekhine was probably frightening experience, like going on the Big Dipper or something. It was, he didn't,
Yeah,
Bruce,
I'm sure you're right.
Bruce didn't play as he could.
Yeah.
And the game is quoted ad nauseum.
Alexander Alekhine versus Harry Golombek, Margate 3. I suppose that's third round, 1938. And it's a Nimzo Indian. And first move's D4, knight F6, C4, E6, knight C3, bishop B4. And Alekhine plays G3. D5, bishop G2, castles, knight F3, C5, C takes D5, knight takes D5.
Is that the best move?
No.
I think it's standard, isn't it?
I don't know. It doesn't look standard to me. I mean, you could take with the queen or you could take with the pawn.
The queen's a bit. Don't forget, you got discovered with the.
Yeah, you can just castle
No,
as well.
No, okay. I'm playing it devil's advocate.
Right, with
but
castle, then you've got a.
have we got
discovered
anybody in
the
the
queen.
audience that plays Nimzo Indians? I'm not really happy. I think I would take with the pawn. Surely that looks a bit more normaler.
Who plays a Nimzo Indian?
It looks like a terrace now, apart from where the bishop is.
Yes,
Yes,
it does.
well, okay, but I mean, doesn't that look like best practice as opposed to knight takes d5?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on the position you want. If you're worried about the isolated queen pawn, I don't know if white should take immediately or castle first. Not sure.
It's better.
I just thought that, I mean, obviously, if you're playing Alekhine, you don't expect him to blunder. So
Sure.
it's not like, oh, you know, Butterfingers. I mean, I remember a friend of mine, he was a strong player, played Michael Franklin in a Congress, and it was a mainline Nimzo Indian, and Kevin must have picked up the wrong piece or something, and Franklin had everything aiming at c3 with Queen a5 and Knight e4, and poor old Kevin, you know, was almost on the verge of resigning at that move 8, you know. And I just wondered whether taking on d5, it looks attractive, but is it any good? Because I don't remember seeing anything like this before, quite in this form.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't see how
I
knight
mean,
takes can be
obviously
bad.
you
I mean,
can
it's
try
like
and reinforce the knight with Queen c2, I suppose.
still sort of terrace versus semi-terrace setup. isn't
Yes.
it?
Very much so.
Just
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of taste more than anything.
Well, yes, it is, but you know, I'm not saying it's good. Or
I
bad.
can't help but feel that this is going to be a bit weak with the bishop there somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Golombek was, back then it was very strong. Obviously, he was.
Yeah. Don't know.
So he took with a knight. So
If you talk with the pawn, then you might be in a bit of bother with bishop g5.
Mm.
Well, this is it. These moves flow like as natural as a baby's smile, as Sherlock would say.
yeah, that looks a bit nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also looks. The only point I'm trying to make was that unless something comes of black winning a pawn on c3, then I don't like knight takes d5 full stop.
But if he plays bishop g5,
Yes.
and he play h6.
Yeah, you probably do take
Yeah.
and castle.
Yes.
Now, white could respond. Yeah, black rather could
Well,
just
what's
play.
wrong with knight? What's wrong with knight take? Oh,
It's black to
knight's
move.
pawn-
Black to move.
knight's
Yeah.
pinned, isn't it?
Yeah, you've just had to castle out of the pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to whip off the knight, isn't he?
Could whip off the knight. Yeah.
I think yes, because knight takes pawn. But
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
some of
think
my fellow
white's got-
experts, but it's c4 a move now.
Yeah, it might be. It may well be.
I'd like to know.
Yeah. I don't know. You've got knight seat, knight e5.
Yes,
So
but I
what's
mean,
everybody
just
said?
strategically.
Slightly prefer white, I think.
Yeah, and e4's coming.
Is white any better than he was at move 1?
Good question.
No, I haven't got a clue, but I think it's very interesting. At least it's something I can understand.
Don't know. I think
Yeah.
white's doing quite well here myself, but
Quite well. Rook b1 maybe and tickle the b pawn.
Does anyone play the Nimzo?
I
do.
used
That's
to.
why I'm ashamed to admit. I'm ashamed to admit I don't know, but
I used to play it, but just realised I didn't understand what was going on at all, so played something else.
I think everyone should play the Nimzo at some time in their life, just to
No, I think
education.
there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
Well, it is a response to d4, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, Nimzovich's writings are so well worth digging into. You mightn't like it, but you couldn't fail to be educated. Yes, bishop e6.
Don't know.
Either e4 immediately or maybe some prep.
Mm.
Otherwise, black's just got more space. And
Actually, thinking about it, rook b1 is, your suggestion of rook b1 is difficult to mate, I think.
many of my suggestions, probably Alekhine didn't even see that. Yes, exactly.
You've got rook c8, I suppose, just to make it more complicated. I don't know.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Colin. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Thank you. Yeah,
You
yeah.
must be right. Yes.
So that's a definite maybe in answer to your question.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'll have to come back to you on that.
Something
The
like
knight
that. Yeah.
now takes d5.
So hang on. So in this position, what does white do then? Plays queen c2, is it?
Bishop d2. Breaking the pin. Bishop d2.
Oh. Oh.
And preparing e4, I guess.
Well, it's a blow in the air, isn't it? A bit.
So he just develops the other knight now, knight c6.
Doesn't play pawn takes pawn.
Well, this is it.
Okay, knight
The
c6.
best move. I think I'd prefer something else.
Mm.
He's rich in.
Then he plays a3.
One takes pawn is better, I think.
Oh dear.
A3 looks a bit wasteful, doesn't
It
it?
does look wasteful.
Let's get rid of the good bishop.
Why do it almost? Maybe maybe he's worried about pawn takes pawn, to be fair. I think pawn takes pawn is a threat.
If pawn takes pawn wins a pawn,
Yeah.
it wouldn't do to go a pawn down against the strongest player of all time. So,
So sorry, Alekhine's white, yeah?
oh, okay.
Yeah. Alekhine's white.
Oh, sorry. So, what does he know? Right, yes.
So
Well, I think
just
at the time
explain.
he'd won the title back from Irva.
He exchanges the knights now.
Right.
With
Golombek.
bishop.
No, he played knight takes.
Knight takes c3.
B takes c3.
Oh,
Retreat with his town.
A5. Castles.
so
Now he plays C takes D4.
Yeah.
C takes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bishop takes D2. Queen takes. And Queen E7. I'm not quite. I don't understand that move. Something.
Trying to play E5, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, rook d8.
yeah, I think he's just preserving his options, isn't he?
He'd better hurry up and develop his bishop, though, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
as we've
thought-
seen in several games recently, that
Hmm.
that Petrosian game against Romanishin, where he was late to the crease, wasn't he? Put his queen on the wrong square, and then compounded the error by going back to B8.
Hmm.
Is that move designed to prevent White moving the rook on the A file on A1?
Yeah, does it?
Yeah,
Does
it could be. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I think he's preparing rook d8 as well. You know, playing rook d8, bishop d7, bishop e8 looks passive, but isn't terrible.
No, I mean,
The White plays Queen B2 now.
Okay. So he defends a3 and prevents bishop there, I guess,
No.
because of the threat against
For a
b7
while, yeah.
for a while. Yeah,
He plays Rook D8 now.
d8.
because if he's content with E3, I don't think Black's ever going to.
E3 could have been played a long time ago.
Well, I know, but he may have been just waiting to see what Harry was going to do.
Rook, sorry, is Rook FC1 now.
C1.
What?
This is awkward pressure, I think. So, yeah, I don't know. Black can't play e5, can he? Because White's got 1, 2, 3 pieces on it.
I
He
think
can't. He can't.
he's running out of oxygen.
He is. He can't play b6, or at least I don't think he can because of knight e5.
He could play the crushing bishop d7. Oh no, he can't. Oh,
He can't play bishop d7 because that's, and he can't even play rook b8 preparing b6 because rook takes knight, pawn takes rook, queen takes rook.
Yeah.
So he's, as you say, he's running out of oxygen.
Queen D6 he played.
meanwhile,
He played
Queen D6.
d6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Queen E7 has been proven to be a funny move, hasn't it now?
well, surely that was obvious. I'm surprised that it was. The audience
Yeah.
liked it.
I didn't see great options burgeoning for him.
No, I agree with you. But
No.
this is the great Alekhine.
There's
So
this
next-
little move queen b2, I think, which really showed it up.
But the cream on the custard. Well, I suppose now E4 is isn't it screaming out to be played?
Close. It's got an exclamation mark the next move. I don't know why. It's quite logical what he plays.
Well,
Well, he is threatening d4, isn't he? I guess.
Knight E5?
He plays E3 now,
Oh, back to E3 again.
oh,
which says allows White's knight to roam now.
Yeah.
I suppose
Yeah.
he's got.
He's got, so Black is almost forced to play Rook B8. He plays Rook B8 now.
Well, now we can't. Can you take on C6 with the rook?
Knight D2 or knight somewhere.
I just wondered now if we can play knight e5 or.
Sure, that is enough, is it? I don't know. Queen.
One thing's for certain, Alekhine would have known.
What does it do?
I don't know. I just thought it was.
Certainly need to look at it.
Bit speculative, I think, to play that.
Good job I didn't say it then. It wasn't me.
Plays knight g5 now.
Really? Or maybe that's with a view to liquidating and then coming to e4.
Now he's threatening, isn't he?
Yes, he is, quite right.
Yeah.
Oh, is he though?
What's the difference?
Because well, the difference is you got the bishop on the knight as well.
Well,
But
I'm just going to recapture with the pawn and
yeah, exactly. And the queen's defending b8.
yes.
Yeah, good point. Well made.
He plays bishop d7. I think he's.
I think Harry's cacking himself.
I don't think he mentioned that in his book.
No. So he now puts another piece on. He plays queen c2 now.
Okay.
Ooh.
Spot the threat.
Mate.
Oh,
No,
oh
not
yes.
mate.
Probably Alekhine. Alekhine would have spotted that almost immediately.
So I think, isn't Black forced to play the move he does, f5? I think g6 is.
G6 is a bit for good night Vienna. I don't know, knight e4. Haven't got all black squared bishop.
It looks horrible, though.
It does look.
Oh
horrible.
yes, of
Well,
course.
I mean, even the fairly mundane something like this
And then h4.
looks fairly awful. Or as you say, h4 actually is probably a little more aesthetic.
Threat being more powerful than the execution, whatever that means.
But even knight c5, you know, just with a lot of pressure on the queen side is
Yeah.
unpleasant. So f5 looks.
That's what he played, yeah.
That's massively committal, but I dare say Harry. Ooh.
Now find White's next move.
Oof.
Ooh.
It's got to be G4 then, hasn't it?
Has it? No.
Oh, right then.
It is a pawn move.
D5.
Sorry?
D5?
Yeah, d5, double exclamation mark.
Ooh.
Why does that work then? Why
Don't
does-
ask me. I only work here. But well, I suppose you can just take it and the pawns flail on in the air. Rook d1. I don't know.
Yeah, rook d1, I think.
Yeah, that looks quite good. Rook D1, yeah.
There's not much analysis. There's only a little bit of analysis on this case.
Yes,
It doesn't give you much.
I think
Yeah,
this
Rook
is it.
D1 is a bit crushing, isn't it, after taking the pawn?
The game is in the.
Did he take the pawn, Phil?
No, he played knight e7.
Okay. Shall we have a quick look at pawn takes pawn or just go with the game?
You can do, yeah.
Well, I mean, the rook d1, and then I suppose bishop.
Bishop e6 doesn't look as if it's
Or knight E7, is that okay?
I think I prefer knight e7, but it's not much.
It guards things better.
Can I play rook d4 and blockade? Hammer away like that, but
It's not very forcing, is it? Whatever this line.
no, maybe not. But it's probably enough if Alekhine's got an absolute grip on the centre. I was just envisaging rook d4 and the other rook across.
Yeah.
And everything's down his throat
Yeah.
to lapse into the vernacular.
Or can you even play e4 here?
Yeah. Well, if you can manage to take on D5, there's a pin, isn't there? Because Queen B3 and
Yeah.
against, so there could be something.
So maybe pawn takes pawn.
What is
bishop
that
takes pawn.
classical saying? Something's about to fall from the sky. It won't be leaves. Surely that's enough for. We haven't given up that much material.
Yeah, that was quite good,
Only a
doesn't it?
pawn. I think Harry would happily give it back if.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. So anyway, he played 19-7.
I think that's.
D takes E6 now.
I think Alekhine has seen to the end almost.
Bishop takes E6. Now rook D1.
Is the queen overloaded to come?
It's got to keep on the bishop, hasn't it? So
Yes.
Queen E5.
Ooh.
hitting that rook, I guess.
Now play bishop takes B7.
That's unexpected. Well, I didn't expect it anyway.
I suppose with Alekhine, the ceiling's about to fall in, but you don't quite know when. Okay, clever trousers. If you take it, you play rook takes rook. So I'll play rook takes rook first.
Yeah, it's still there though, isn't it?
Doesn't help.
And the threat, gentlemen, being what, taking on E6 and then bishop D.
Well, sorry, after rook takes bishop, I just mean you still got rook D8.
Mate, yes, mate.
Oh yes.
Same threat.
Same threat, but even though there's not a rook on there. So bishop takes pawn just kind of wins a pawn, kind of annoys black intentionally at the same time, I'd imagine.
I mean, even if black managed to hang on, he was going to probably be outplayed in the ending anyway.
H6 he played, tried to push the knight away or get rid of the knight. So
I don't think.
he plays knight takes E6.
Yeah, it was Elaine Pritchard that said she'd forgotten that rook could move, the knight could move backwards. And when she got home, she got out Stormson's handbook and looked it up. I was almost convinced that the knight could move backwards, but she never liked to do so.
They do say backward knight moves are sometimes difficult to spot, though, aren't they?
Yes.
Where have I got to? Queen takes E6.
Yeah.
Queen C7 now.
Whoa.
That's starting to look a bit awkward,
This
isn't
is
it?
getting a bit vicious.
So he exchanges the rooks off with a check.
Yeah, but no more.
Rook E8.
Well, he's still alive, but it's
You still go rook D7, don't you?
Yeah.
Rook D7.
yeah. There's no checks. Black hasn't got any sneaky checks.
Yeah, but this is a bit awkward now on the 7th rank.
He didn't play that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on, Martin's. Alekhine is rubbish.
Can't he just move the king across now, though? He plays rook D7. Does he not play king F8?
Well, how about bishop D5? Oh, F8. Sorry, I thought you were saying F7. Bishop F8.
Well, that would have been a nice finish, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been.
But Alekhine missed it. Alekhine never looked more deep, really looked that deeply.
More deep than 15 moves.
Yeah, you said that, he couldn't be bothered.
All right. There's got to be something for white then.
He played bishop F3.
Oh,
Well, obvious.
whoa.
Was he coming round to H5 or something?
Threatening to take another pawn, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because all the way through the game, I mean, he's always got the, I'm sure quoted Tarash that the gods have placed the middle game. So,
They play A6.
oh well,
That showed him.
yeah, that
You could go rook d6 now if you wanted.
That's what he did do.
Yeah, if he's going to play that game, I'll have the pawn anyway.
Attacking the queen, so he goes to E5. Pinning it.
Oh, e5. Ah.
It's putting up a defence.
So white plays queen C4 check.
That's the
Oh,
end.
yes.
don't
Winning
quite see.
Winning the pawn if he wants.
Mm.
King H7. Rook takes A6.
Hmm.
It's another pawn gone. Rook C8.
Oh, poor
It's
old Harry.
desperation, isn't it? And now the queen comes in on F7.
Ooh.
Spike check, Rook C1. King G2, and then Golombek resigned, I suppose.
Really?
Yeah, 2
There's
pawns down.
There's a threat of rook takes H6, yeah?
Is there?
Oh, nice,
Queen
nice spot,
H5 mate.
nice spot. So I'll
Oh,
just
yes.
make an arbitrary move.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's why he resigned then, wasn't it?